For over 100 years, tax-exempt municipal bonds have been a powerful and resilient tool for state and local governments. As part of the original federal tax code, tax-exempt bonds are a fundamental component of our nation's intergovernmental partnership. State and local governments and not-for-profit organizations have used tax-exempt bonds as a primary foundation on which our local communities have been built, making possible the kinds of essential public facilities that people rely on every day. Tax-exempt issuers of all types and sizes issue bonds to raise money for vital public-serving projects. With help from the financial community, public entities use the underwriting process to access resources in the public bond market. This process has been around for decades and can fund large projects by helping to match investors to the tax-exempt issuers in need of capital. Underwriting a tax-exempt bond issue requires a finance team that deals with the necessary paperwork, assists in pricing the bonds, and builds investor interest. Although an established process, underwriting bonds issued to the market can be costly and time-consuming, especially for tax-exempt issuers who only need to raise relatively small amounts of capital. For smaller communities, this process doesn't always make sense. This is why, while bypassing traditional processes, banks are allowed to purchase tax-exempt bonds directly from comparatively smaller borrowers. Banks purchasing directly from borrowers makes more capital readily available to municipalities and strengthens their relationships with local banks. But we can do even more to help local governments, colleges, hospitals, and many more that issue smaller amounts of tax-exempt bonds. Currently, bank-qualified bonds can only be utilized by local governments and qualified finance authorities that issue less than $10 million in tax-exempt bonds per year. The law behind bank-qualified bonds was written over 30 years ago. And in that time, inflation, increases in the cost of labor and supplies have all contributed to the greater overall expense of developing vital projects today. The municipal bond market community is urging Congress to account for changes that have occurred over the past 30 years. Lawmakers can do this by increasing small issuer exception limits from $10 million to $30 million per year and placing it at the borrower level. And by having this limit automatically adjust for inflation, we can ensure a lasting policy solution. Lowering transactions costs while increasing access to capital will encourage local governments to invest in themselves, leading to a better quality of life and a more vibrant economy for communities everywhere. Remember, bonds build America. Let's modernize the tax code to make their jobs easier.